Hey guys, thanks for taking time out of your day to come and watch this video and also to come back to the channel. Today we're looking at the Yak-9U, a plane that was requested by ShoulderSem7195 under my Sherman video, I believe. That was 3 weeks ago. I'm terribly sorry. I have been sick with a disease and I have been busy editing my Subnautica 2 series, which is on the 20's channel, which there is a link to in the description of this video. So if you feel like seeing content that I post other than War Thunder, or just feel like checking it out, or just if you're feeling generous, giving a subscription, feel free to go and check that out as well. Anyway, Shoulder, I hope this video is as good as you hoped or thought it would be, but without further ado, let's get straight into the analysis. The Yak-9U is a Rank 3 battle rating 4.7 aircraft in the leftmost fighter line in the USSR research tree. As I said, it is a fighter, and it is in the folder with the Yak-3, a plane which I did a review on a little while ago now. But as a little bit of an introductive summary, if you will, even though this is the plane in the folder with the Yak-3, it is not essential for you to grind this out. It is not the best of the two. For reasons that I will get into in a little bit here when I go over the specifications of this plane, this is still pretty much a Yak. It still has the same flight model-ish, but the only difference is that it has a different engine, I believe. Feel free to correct me in the comments, but it means that its performance is actually worse than the Yak-3. This would definitely be because of a change of engine, because the Yak-9U, for example, just as a reference point, has a maximum speed of 675 kilometers an hour and a turn time of 19.1 seconds, with a rate of climb also of 18.8 meters a second. On the other hand, the Yak-3, the first one in the folder, has a max speed of 654 kilometers an hour, but with a rate of climb of 21.3 meters a second and a turn time of 17.4 seconds. Literally, the only difference in performance statistics between the two is that the Yak-9U is faster by around about 20 kilometers an hour, which doesn't really account for much considering that it is still a Yak and the wings still rip off when you go a bit too fast, usually about 700 or 730 kilometers an hour. And this is where the main difference between the two lies. The Yak-9U is made to be going fast, right? It's supposed to go faster than its counterpart, and if you like playing fast, then that's completely fine. But in my opinion, this goes against the doctrine that the Yaks like to play as. War Thunder, at least, the Yak-9U doesn't really need to go fast to perform well with the other fighters. As you saw in the other video that I posted, the Yak-3 actually does quite well. It doesn't need to go faster to be able to keep up with its counterparts. And in fact, again, as you saw, the Yak-3 just completely rinses everything, well, almost everything, that it faces. Now, the historical reason for this was that the Russians probably needed something to counter the German bombers that were becoming increasingly faster, so they put a new engine onto a Yak chassis and increased the wingspan by approximately 0.7 meters. What that is in feet, I don't know. For all you Freedom Unit users, you can convert that as you will. But the wingspan had to be slightly larger to accommodate the almost 200 kilogram difference between the Yak-3's engine and the Yak-9U's engine. Now, the Yak-3's engine, or the VK105PF, is, well, it suits the airframe a lot better. This plane does not need to go fast. You can certainly do so much with the engine already in the Yak-3, but the Yak-9U's engine gives it wep. Now, this creates some, handy characteristics, like, again, it can go faster and try and keep up with some things. But again, going fast in a Yak is not a strong suit. Granted, the wing rip speed, or the maximum speed limit, has been increased from 685 kilometers an hour to 720 kilometers an hour, so you can still follow people in a dive somewhat, but you still won't keep up with P-51Ds and with P-47s, especially not. You will still more than likely rip your wings, and the Yak compresses really, really easily around these speeds anyway. Basically, you're once you've gone past a certain speed, I'd say maybe about 680 kilometers an hour, you are kind of just doomed to rip your wings off. Now, another feature that the Yak-9U gets with its new engine is the addition of WEP. This is okay. I mean, it's always good to have an addition of speed and horsepower in a fight, but again, the Yak-3, it didn't need WEP to feel like it could accelerate better. And in fact, this creates another problem for the Yak-9U in the sense that the engine overheats a lot faster. So, more often than not, you'll be flying around the battlefield and you will find yourself having to reduce your throttle to about 90 or 95% just to be able to cool off the engine, because if you stay on the WEP, or even at 100% sometimes if the engine's already super hot, or warm rather, it's not super hot because there's no afterburner, you will have to, yeah, drop your throttle. You'll have to manage your engine almost to the same degree that early Spitfires do, and this gets really, really annoying. In terms of firepower, the Yak-9U has the exact same guns as the Yak-3U. The only difference between the two is that it gets about 40 more rounds, actually no, exactly 40 more rounds of 12.7 over the Yak-3, which, you know, isn't really that big of a deal considering that most of the time the rounds will sort of just run out at the same time anyway. But in my experience, I've never run out of ammunition. It still forces you to be trigger disciplined. However, these guns are also incredibly easy to aim, and once you get your aim down pat, know where to lead, and can start to shoot straight a little bit more, as you'll see in the background here, it is quite easy to blow people's shit smooth off. Other than that, it is pretty much feels like a slightly faster but overall worse version of the Yak-3. I would still recommend taking the Yak-3 over the Yak-9U. It's still a good plane to play, the Yak-9U is, but you will find, at least in my experience, that it is more fun taking out the Yak-3 than the Yak-9U. The Yak-3 is still, in my opinion, the best plane to grind rank 3 and, well, rank 4 until you get to the Yak-3U at the very least. Be aware of planes like the A7M, some zeros when you're at low altitude and low speed, and pretty much like a lot of other planes that you otherwise would have no issues in the Yak-3 whatsoever. These planes certainly have an easy time dealing with you now because of the aforementioned characteristics, so just be careful of that. But otherwise, if you know what you're doing, you shouldn't have a well, you shouldn't have too bad of a time whatsoever, but still be careful with how you play, try and stick to low altitude, and try and keep some of that speed, manage that engine. With all that being said though, let's move on to the gameplay narration and to the games that I have to show you. And here we are at the first of three matches that I have for you today. A couple of good ones, and I think there's one of them that showcases more about this thing's performance in dogfights rather than just high kill games. But we're starting off now by hawking down an A7M. Now, this guy is probably the most highest priority target in a game. It is an absolute monster. If you can get this thing out of the match early, do so. But he's split S, and he's tried to take us in a dive, trying to roll around our guns. I cannot aim, I have a bit of a skill issue, but we break off in the opposite direction that he breaks off in to make him have to turn for longer to try and get his guns on me. Opens the gap a little bit more, and we kind of just have to move around and dodge his guns a little bit. We have enough speed, and he bled away all his speed when he tried to turn back in after us. But that's completely fine. We use our speed to move away to try and create a safe distance. I'm thinking about whether I should engage him again or not, but he breaks off to head to all of the friendlies on the deck. There is a Yak-3 that is chasing a enemy Sterling in the distance, and a pair of Key 67s that are above us. One will crash, and then another one we will be hawking down at the end of the game. But anyway, we dive to the deck. We're not going to go bomber chasing. I don't really feel like trying to lose all my speed to get to these guys. I want to try and get as many of the fighters off of our team as possible so that we will have a better time hunting those guys down later on. A7M goes vertical. This is a perfect opportunity. We're just going to jump on him and take him out very quickly here, which means that we are now the most threatening plane in the lobby. We have the altitude, we have the performance, we hopefully have the experience, and now it's just a matter of deciding who to go for. We have a 190 chasing an I-185, and we have a 109, a Spitfire, and a TAR 154 chasing after this Yak-3. I decided to go after the planes chasing the Yak-3 because, one, the Yak-3 is a better plane than the I-185. Sorry, bro, but, you chose that plane. And there's also some reasonably annoying targets for us that we'd have to deal with if we decided to go help the I-185. So instead, we go for the 109. We took him out, and we're now going for the TAR 154. Not really that big of an issue in a dogfight, but he does actually have some pretty good engines and some pretty good guns. But this Yak-3 decided to steal my kill, which I wasn't very happy about, but that's alright. We kind of still got the kill anyway, even though it was a severe damage. So, whatever. Anyway, we move on to the Spitfire, and we move on to the 190. Now, here's the difference in speed, I guess, between this Yak-3 early that's next to me and the Yak-9U that I'm in. I am faster, I will be faster, but he is still able to keep up with me, as you'll see, even though I'm gaining speed. And you can also see that my throttle has been taken down to 94% because I had to cool off the engine. Again, as I said in the analysis, you will more than likely see me do that a lot in quite a lot of the clips while I was rambling on before, and as well as some of these games. But anyway, we are watching this ahead. The 190 has run out of ammunition on an I-185 that has lost his wing, and he's now trying to ram him. Yeah, War Thunder's full of interesting people. I-185 finally goes down, but to the A7M1, that is just absolutely incredible. Spitfire does a 180 complete for us. He just does not have any energy to follow us after that. He has no business pitching up. So we are just going to wing up and over. We get behind him in literally one turn. And, well, I mean, the rest is history. Severe damage, blow his wings, move off, and we move on to the 190, who has no ammunition. He has no choice but to haul it back to the base, but we just have the speed here to catch him quite reliably. Take a couple of shots, miss, hit, get a fire, immediate crit, perfect, awesome. We'll line up one shot. I don't know why I'm taking so long to spray this guy down. I guess maybe I'm like trying to get a better shot, and my kill gets stolen yet again by the Yak-3. So we say thank you very much. Thank you for being an amazing, awesome teammate. Thank you so much for helping me out getting that kill, because the match would have been over if that guy didn't go into the ground another maybe 30 seconds later. On to the next match. We have a Spitfire that we are just going to down immediately just to try and get these numbers down. A Bearcat slops in on the tail, but we are going to just try and pull him into a bit of a rate fight here. I'm at a higher altitude. This would be so much better if he was a lower altitude, but I'm just trying to play energy. You see the wing vortices, he doesn't have a lot of energy. We drop the flaps, but he's still able to pull in. That thing's engine is just absolutely crazy. So we have no choice but to roll out of the direction of his 50 cals and to try and re-engage him while he's slow and being engaged by the friendly. I thought the friendly was going to take him out, but he ended up missing all his shots, so that's okay. He deviated the F8F's path long enough for me to realign with his flight path, which should allow us to pull in quite handily here. Don't quite get the shot. Couldn't drop the flaps, I was going too fast, they would have broken off. So we're just going to pitch up and over, but we still set him up perfectly for a 109G that comes in and tears him apart. Flying over to our teammate in the LA7 that is having trouble with a P51. I have absolutely no idea. They're at a pretty low altitude. He could easily outturn him, but whatever, we're going to help him. We're going to drop the throttle to 0 to try and make sure we don't overspeed too quickly here. And now it's just about finding good angle. If you see someone's trying to help you, try and set the enemy up in a way that allows them to come in and just help you. Like this angle right here would have been perfect if I wasn't going so fast and overspeeding. But we managed to, I don't know, hurt him enough that he wasn't able to get a super good firing solution on him, and he managed to broke off, take off his wingtip, and, well, miss our other shots because, you know, we had a massive skill issue that we're not going to talk about anymore, are we? P51 looks to be in pretty bad shape. I can't tell if he's diving out or diving into the ground, but we're going to chase after him anyway because we have the speed to do so. He J's out, but my burst was just a good burst anyway, so we would have gotten that kill regardless. And then we have the age-old strategy of just straight airfield camping. I love this strategy so much. It makes me so happy, so much so that I just really, really want to not let these guys get away with the strategy that they are trying to pull off. What we're trying to do, we have, enough fuel, but we're just cruising around on, I think, oh, the screen's too small. Does that say 69% throttle? Funny. Hopefully it says 59% throttle. And yeah, we're just hawking the airfield and seeing what's going on. The Wyvern attempts to land, but he's going too fast, so he goes off the runway to the other side of the airfield. And I only noticed this right about, well, it's got to be in a moment here. I'm watching the Key 67, watching him take off, try and move away from the airfield. The 109 and I are kind of like unconsciously working in tandem. Here I notice that the Wyvern is off the airfield. And so we devise a plan to see if we can sneak past the AA and take this guy out while he's not as protected by the AA batteries. This Key 67, on the other hand, is just, he's using his AA cover, he's trying to fly around in circles, trying to fly out long enough to bait us in, and then fly back to the airfield so the AA can rip us apart. I will say though, and you'll probably see this in just a second, but the AA has been changed at low tier almost. You try to get closer, the close range AA is not hit scan. Now, granted, it's still pretty accurate, but they've added OST wins. Now, I'm not sure if it's just on this map, I'm not sure if it's the same of every map, but they're not as accurate anymore. But anyway, we're closing into the Wyvern. We were actually on track to shooting him, but he probably notices us, probably notices either that or he can't actually go to the, can't go back to the airfield, but he J's out, and we get the kill credit for it. So that is kill number 4? Kill number 3? Either one, I can't remember. But we are going to not let the Key 67 get away with his nice little strategy of just sitting on the airfield. We're going to show him that people can actually use their brain to avoid the AA emplacements. And here comes the Oswind AA. And you can see right here, it's not hit scan. As long as you fly somewhat perpendicular, it's still pretty accurate, still pretty scary, don't get me wrong. But you can get close to the airfield but by sitting below the tree line and popping out and just absolutely doming the Key 67. Now, I did actually go down, but, someone's got to teach these kids a lesson. And that's not how we play in War Thunder. I know that wasn't tough. It's alright, we'll move on to the third match and we'll forget about that. Third and final match. This is the 6-kill match that you saw in the thumbnail. First of all, we have Bowling Kitten 43 in their P51 that we're just going to completely drain of energy because we have the speed and altitude to do so. We're going to go up and over, wing over, and we're going to get on their tail pretty much instantly. They are really slow. You can already see that we're catching them pretty much straight away. Going to fire off a couple of shots. They're going to do some little fancy non-fancy roll thing. I'm going to just keep spraying and just wasting all my ammunition. 0. Come on, hit the shot, bro. Thank you. Aircraft destroyed. And we move on to the absolute humongously big furball that is the Red Sea right below us. And no, I don't mean the Red Sea as in the geographical sea. I mean the literal Red Sea that is below us with all of the enemy planes about. But anyway, looking for targets here. The P51 looks like he's running away, but we are going to turn around and we're going to engage on some of these targets here to try and save as many of our friendlies as humanly possible. Look at the J-26 and the 109 as potential targets, but they're on weird angles. But we're still kind of turning into them anyway. I mean, there's 3 of them here. They're all lined up pretty easily, pretty quickly. Now, we do take a risk here. And I'm still unsure as to why I did this, but we basically just parked ourselves right in front of this 109. Now, I don't know why he didn't shoot me right there. I was kind of expecting him to do that. We just come right in and we just absolutely beam the C202 and the J26. Now, where the 109 has gone, I have absolutely no idea. I think he broke off. But the P51 is coming back in. So we are going to dodge out of the way of his 50 cals. Not sure why he didn't shoot, but the J26 goes down in the background. And so we are going to use our energy here and we're just going to sit in a turn rate. The P51 performs well at high speed and at high altitude. We are not playing at high speeds or at high altitude. So it is pretty easy here just to wing up and over, to drop the flaps and to hopefully dome this guy until I see the 109 rapidly closing in. If I did not hit this shot, it would be a 2v1, so thank God that I did. We're going to try and dodge out of the way. Neg G, he manages to get a couple of glancing blows. 20 mil probably to the tail, which is why it turned black. And we've got a yellow wingtip, but otherwise it's okay. Little bit of drag slows us down, but nothing that we can't handle here on the Zero Mustang channel. He turns back in, he loses all of his speed, and again we go into a low altitude, low speed turn fight. 109 is really good in the stall, but we are also really good at low speed turning, so we're going to try and sit behind him just here, keep the whip engaged, drop the flaps, and we get behind him relatively quickly. He's just going to go up, he's going to bleed away all his speed. I mean, thanks for giving me this kill on a silver platter, bro. Thanks for your wingtip as well. I really appreciate that. That's kill number 5. And, well, just moving on to see if we can find the 6th and last guy of the match. Overall, a pretty decent dogfight, but don't make those same mistakes that I did. Don't end up in front of those guys, and more than likely you will have a better outcome than what I did. I got very lucky. And as for the last kill of this video, this is probably the most adorable display of tomfoolery that I've ever seen. It is a B25 trying to pitch up at us using his 650 cals. I mean, props to him. There wasn't really much that he could do. It was him versus 3 fighters pretty much, but it was just so easy to wing over and just absolutely hose him down. Crit him, severe him, take his wing off. He goes into a flat spin. I mean, I appreciate you, brother. Like, respect, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. Just wasn't going to happen. But anyway, Friendly tries to try and get some last pieces in, but we're just going to fly away here, get our 6th kill, pop the smoke, because why not? And round off this video. If you have any more suggestions for tanks and planes and, you know, any other vehicles, anything you want to see, leave them in the comments. Leave a subscribe too if you're feeling generous. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Especially to you too, Shoulder. Thank you for recommending this. Actually wasn't too bad of a time filming, but, you know, there are good planes and there are bad planes. You'll see the results here in just a second if you are curious as to what kind of rewards you get. As per tradition, it will be a Ground RB video next, so hopefully that'll come out sooner rather than later. Again, sorry for taking so long, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Catch up.